Hello everyone, welcome to my TBR. I'm going to try and make these at least once a month because more and more people have been calling me out for not uploading often enough. The most recent was Jessica from her lovely video where she recommended loads of like booktubers. So she just sort of went, Chrissy doesn't upload all the time. I'm sure she didn't mean it like that, but I just found it really funny. So like, okay, I will upload more often. So I'm going to try and make these like once a month and be like, this is what I'm reading for the month basically. So for the month of February, which is coming up quick, January ended. So these are the books I will be reading. I am doing the 50 book challenge again this year on Goodreads, so if you want to add me, it's cuckoo-doodles, #plug. First up, we have some Raymond Carver. What we talk about when we talk about love. I really love Raymond Carver. I've been collecting his short story collections now. This is, oh, that worked out nicely, collecting his short story collections. This is the third short story collection that I own that's by him. He's sort of like the master of the American short story. He has just such a interesting way of writing in that he focuses on the mundane, the extreme details of the day-to-day life, but instead of boring, it's an examination into the monotony and the sort of like unhappiness of monotony. By focusing so intently, it creates this sort of like surreal, the everyday becomes surreal. And that's what I love about him. I'm trying to write more short stories myself, so I'm trying to read more short stories and just sort of like really learn from how he does it. So I'm looking forward to cracking into yet another Raymond Carver book. Next up is, wow, shiny. It's Wave Me Goodbye by Jacqueline Wilson. I actually got this when me and Julia from Julie's Bookcase, we went to see Jacqueline Wilson give a talk, and we got to see the woman, the legend in the flesh on stage, talking about her life and how she writes and about this book and answering questions from the audience. And like, it was just so wonderful going there as a 22-year-old and seeing so many children there, seeing kids who are like 5 or like 10, seeing so many young kids there, because like Jacqueline Wilson, despite writing over 100 books and being in the children's literature game for who knows how many decades now, still appealing to so many young children and still making them love reading, and it's so wonderful to see that. And she's just so lovely. She's just got such a wonderful air around her, and she is just wonderful, and it was so great to like see her in real life, and me and Judah were like, she's real, she's there, oh my gosh. Anyway, back to the book. Wave Me Goodbye is about this young girl called Shirley who is an evacuee in the Second World War. So in World War II, because big cities like London were a huge target for enemy planes to bomb, it was unsafe for people to live in there, so they were evacuating children out into the countryside where they were less of a target. I have been fascinated with evacuee stories and sort of World War II since like primary school. I think we read Goodnight Mr. Tom, and I've been sort of like really mesmerised by these stories ever since, and it's been a while since I've read a story set in that era. So when I saw Jacqueline Wilson was releasing this book and giving a talk, I was like, okay, I need to go. And I'm really excited to read this because it's by one of my favourite authors set in the period I'm really fascinated by. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. And I have like no shame about being a grown person sitting on the tube reading a children's book, because I want to read it, I'm going to read it, I'm going to show everyone that I'm reading it. And the final book on my TBR list is this one, Where the Rockets Burn Through, Contemporary Science Fiction Poems from the UK. I didn't realise there was such a thing as a sci-fi poem until I kind of accidentally wrote one. So I'm part of the Barbican Young Poets program, and we were set a task where it was, think of a question that you don't have an answer to, and one of the questions I wrote down was, how do we get to parallel universes? And then the challenge was, okay, take one of the questions that you don't have an answer to, try and write an answer for it. And then I ended up writing this sort of like sci-fi-esque poem, and I read it, I was like, why have I never thought of sci-fi poems before? this would be such an interesting genre. So I went to the South Bank Poetry Library, I searched sci-fi poems, this came up, and it has such a gorgeous cover and such a great title. I've kind of started reading it already, and I've only a couple of poems in, but some of these have some of the most breathtaking writing, and sometimes I read a poem and I hit a line and I'm like, and it's just such powerful poetry. And it's amazing how some people have taken sci-fi and poetry and commanded it, and there's a real beauty in space terminology, and they've captured that and they've made it into these beautiful, beautiful poems. When I'm done reading this and return it to the library, I'm gonna buy one. I'm gonna buy a copy of this because it's stunning. I'm so excited to see what other magic is in this book, and I'm so excited to own it. So those are my books for February. Let me know what you think of any of the books, if any of them intrigue you, and let me know if you have any suggestions that you think I should be reading for the next month so I can add it to my next TBR. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye!